Hi, and welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm Martin Bailey, and joining us today is Jason Peck from XL Electrical Services. Welcome, Jason, and thank you for taking the time out to join me today. How are you feeling?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, are you having a good day so far?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good. Well, look, just to start us off, why don't you tell us a bit about who you are and what your business does?
I'm Jason Peck. The company name is XL Electrical Services. We do all aspects of electrical work. We do domestic properties, commercial properties, electrical testing, solar panels, EV projects, a bit of everything, really.
Okay, and is that? I mean, in terms of your business, is it equally split between domestic and commercial, or do you sort of do more than one or the other?
I think it varies year on year. This year, I would say it's predominantly commercial. Previous years, it's been skewed towards the domestic, but yeah, certainly this year is definitely more domestic, more commercial. Sorry.
Yeah, and I suppose with the pressure on fuel and everything else, and pressure on energy, the solar panels, the battery charging, and all that sort of stuff must be taking a little bit more, or picking up a little bit more interest, I've said.
Absolutely, everybody's looking to save money where they can. The PV solar is a great way of doing that. Many people are also swapping to electric vehicles, so that's an area of growth as well. But even just silly things like energy efficient light bulbs and lighting, a lot of commercial jobs are that type of work now.
Fantastic. Well, it's good to hear that people are starting to take a bit more notice about the environment and the future damage that we've been doing to it. Look, let's just get into the crux of things. So look, let's go back. I mean, what I want you to do is just sort of wind back your head here, and if you had to start your business, from square one of your business again, what would you do differently this time?
There's a couple of easy things that I would have done if I had my time again. One of them, or two of them, would have been outsourcing HR, taking advantage of software to help myself out with payroll, that kind of thing. And something that I found really beneficial and really important was getting a good accountant. I started with one that was okay, but I did find one which was a lot better, and it really did make a big difference to the business performance and just general advice and help around decision making and just the way to go almost.
Okay, so that outsourcing thing was a big thing for you. I mean, was that because you found it took a lot of time? Your time was getting taken up doing that rather than actually having somebody else doing it?
Absolutely, and it's just nice to have someone on the end of a phone you can pick up just for 10 minutes worth of advice, and it saves you so much time, so much worry, and it's the right thing. It just priceless, really.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So that's quite well made. So making sure that you're focusing on the right things yourself and outsourcing the distractions, I suppose, to somebody who's better equipped to deal with them.
Yeah, absolutely. The things I specialize in, I need to be concentrating on those rather than things I don't really have too much knowledge of, and it's a struggle. So yeah, definitely the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, great point, Melwyn. And you talked about HR there, which is interesting. So I mean, from your perspective, what have been your biggest learning as an employer since you began in business?
I think, to a degree, some things are common sense. You try and treat the staff as you want to be treated yourself. Yeah. As I said, outsourcing HR was brilliant. That was so good. Saved so much time. What else is there? I think good communication and reward and recognition for good work. Just a word is enough sometimes, and we do a bonus scheme at the end of the year, which helps motivate the staff. But I think just a good, not a kind word, but just thanks and a well done is always well received, and it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, no. When you say communication, what sort of things do you do to keep the communication flowing with your team?
Well, the simple things like talk every day, but we try and do a monthly team meeting so the team get together and as a group perhaps feel more comfortable to get something off their chest if there's an issue that perhaps if they're an individual they wouldn't bring up. That's helped. What else do we do? Staff days out, that kind of thing. Just small things, perhaps once a month, a couple of times a year, days out, um, paintballing, that kind of thing. The days at the races, even just a drink down the pub, or perhaps a curry night or something like that. That helps, and it's a different environment. They can talk more freely, and it just helps with the team building as well.
So it's about including, I suppose it's about inclusion in terms of information and them being aware of you communicating with them about what's going on in the business, but also then building relationships with them on a different level outside of working hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now you also said something there around in terms of communication, but you mentioned something else in there a minute ago, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it was you said, but it was something along the lines of communication is important, reward and recognition, because it's really interesting. You're absolutely right. It does. A lot of people seem to think reward and recognition is built around bonuses and big gestures, but actually just that thank you, great job, well done, is just as powerful as a bottle of wine or a bonus or whatever else you give to somebody. And actually, as professionals, sometimes it's very easy for us to focus on the bad stuff and find people doing things wrong rather than actually go out there and finding them do things right.
Yeah, and if we get a comment from a client, thanking us or asking us to thank the staff for a job well done, we always pass it along. We pass those positive comments along. Obviously, if it's negative comments, then we have to action that as well. But usually, it's just they don't necessarily get that from the client because they're not necessarily at the end of the job. But when the client's grateful, we always do pass it on. That just makes them feel pride in their work, gives them pride in their work.
Yeah, no, absolutely, totally agree. So look, obviously you've been running your business for quite a few years. So for anybody that's starting out in business, what are some of the common misconceptions about running a business, and I suppose how do you address them?
I think that the big misconception is probably that you're going to have lots of free time. It's going to be easier than working for somebody else, maybe, and you can manage your life. And perhaps you can. I can't always. I think sometimes it's give and take. So you have to, when there's a demand, you have to perhaps do a few more hours. But equally, when you can, take your rest, take your downtime with your family, and not feel guilty if you have some time off during the week or perhaps within working hours, to try and balance it out over the course of the year or the course of the month.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say, but don't feel guilty, isn't it? Because I think when you start your business out, you have this misconception that if you're not working, then you start to feel guilty because because you own a business, you think you've got to be working 7 days a week and 80 hours a week.
Absolutely, you do. Absolutely, 100%. Yes.
And actually, by just not feeling guilty and taking that time out, you don't realize that you're inputting, you're investing in yourself again and your own energy and your own thought process and making sure you're fresh to tackle the demands of the business.
Absolutely, and keeping your family on board, spending a bit of time with the family.
Yeah, because
there's other points where that you're going to give up time from the family just to keep a client happy, maybe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Good point, well made. Thank you. So, what I mean, you've been growing over the last few years. I mean, what do you attribute your growth to?
I think the obvious thing is hard work. Not just us, but the staff. Hard work and good staff. We have good staff. I think that's two of the major things. What else is there? I think networking has helped with some growth. I think like anything, a good reputation, people then come to you for work. So that's helped as well. But it's hard. I don't know the answer to that one.
I don't think growth is easy. There's no easy answer to growth, is there? And I think the other thing, I mean, you said there around good team, etc., etc. I mean, is there anything else, and people coming back to you and referring you? Why do you think they refer you?
Our after sales, I believe our after sales is particularly good. If there's a problem, we fix it. We're not trying to duck the blame or anything like that. And people respond to that. People then are happy that there's no quibble, there's an issue, we try and fix it, put it right, and keep the customer happy. And we generally do, and we have customers for life. And that's what the business is built on, really.
It's quite interesting. I suppose what you're saying there, in some respects, is you're consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're consistent. So no matter what, if there's a problem, no matter what, there's no quibble, you just go and fix it. And you're consistent with every single situation. And that will go a long way.
At the end of the day, we want happy customers. Happy customers pay their bills and come back, as far as I'm concerned. So that's the ideal customer. So
a customer-centric approach.
Absolutely.
Great. Now you touched on it a minute ago, and we were talking about, when misconceptions when you go into starting to run a business, and you talked about getting your personal life in order, etc. So how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
I don't. I think you just roll with the punches to a degree. As I said earlier, when we have to do the overtime to meet customer demand, we do. But when we don't, we take the time off, spend it with your family, and spend quality time with your family. When you're perhaps with your family, try not to be thinking about work. Try to be concentrating on what you're doing. Don't drift off. Don't be present, but not be present in mind, if you like.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So what? So if I'm sort of reading into what you're saying, I suppose you're essentially saying take the time off when you can.
Yeah.
But when you do, make sure that you are taking the time off with purpose and being present with whoever you're taking that time off with, or taking that time off doing.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So don't be distracted. So it's not about having, it's about making sure you take the time off at the right time. But when you do, you're focused on whatever it is that you're taking that time off with that person. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. I think it's right. But I think do you think in there's a bit around creating some sort of routine into your week where you can allocate a certain amount of time on a weekly basis to certain things or certain people?
Yeah, I think we have to do that anyway. But certainly within our business, breakdowns occur. And certainly with commercial customers, you have to get those as soon as possible because they're losing money when they're out of action. So it's not always easy to keep that balance. Yeah. Good staff help because you can then delegate and ask one or two of the staff to cover. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the buck stops with me. So if no one else is available, I have to pick up the slack. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think there'll be times where curveballs come in that you can't avoid. Absolutely. But on the whole, if you've got some sort of structure around your week, then 6 or 7 times out of 10, your week will go to plan without a curveball, and you'll be able to dedicate time appropriately to your loved ones, a hobby, or something that just gives you a bit of me time. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And back there talking about employees again, which is obviously really close. You mentioned team and staff quite a lot through our conversation. So what qualities do you look for in employees? I think honesty and loyalty are obvious. Being able to work under their own initiative, and also you've got to support that. So if they do make a mistake, as long as they can explain why they made that mistake, then it's fine. You can re-educate them or talk through it. But you can't just shoot them down in flames if they've made a mistake because they were trying to do the right thing. So that's important. I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head, to be honest. So I mean, obviously, you're talking about not allowing them to be, but talking about using mistakes they make to learn from rather than to punish. Yeah, you can't have a culture. You've got to try and avoid the blame culture. So which is why you ask the question, why did you do that? And if they've got a reason for it, you know, you can talk around that reason and try and re-educate or find out the correct way to do it, explain the correct way to do it. If they haven't got a reason, then that can be, to me, a problem. It sort of indicates that they didn't really think about it. They just did something, which is an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting because you talked there around, you know, not creating a blame culture, which is quite a positive thing. So how else do you foster a positive, productive working environment? Because that's one way of doing it, but how else do you do that, Jason?
I think the lads are quite a close-knit group anyway, and we do encourage them, and they do it anyway. But if one of them is finished early, they check that the others are going to be finished on time, and if they're not, they will then divert and help them. And also, if one of them's in trouble, you know, the job's not going to plan, they need a hand, they can see from the electronic devices where everybody is, and then perhaps call the nearest available guy and ask if it's possible for a hand, ask for help. And they don't get turned down. They help each other out. They do work as a team. The social events help, that they feel a team. So yeah, they work as a team. Yeah,
no, that's fantastic here. And the fact that they can see where each other is and actually work out, you know, who might be available to help them, it's obviously a real benefit to them.
Yeah, and they often pick up the phone and say, "There's an issue tomorrow. I've already spoken to Joe, Fred, whoever. He's not too busy tomorrow. Is it okay if he gives me a hand as soon as he's free?" And they just let me know, and we just book that in the diary, and that's fine. They just kind of have the freedom to talk to each other and work through problems together.
Work out the best way to be productive and get the job done quicker.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, look, you know, this has been a fantastic conversation, and there's a lot of learning in there for any business owner, Jason. Absolutely. And look, thank you for taking the time to you know, to talk to me today for the Spotlight series. It's been fantastic, and yep, thank you very much.
Okay, no worries.